Hello class and welcome to week 2 of Lifespan Development, Side 320. This week's lecture will serve the purpose as to reviewing your assignments for this week, and also we will review a PowerPoint presentation to show you guys what exactly I'm looking for in terms of your PowerPoint. I will also review the assignment that is due this week, as well as go over your exam and your chapters that you need to read, as well as the PowerPoints that are provided for this week. So let's go ahead and get started. So what I'm going to do is I'll go ahead and review the assignments for the week. So this week, of course, you have to read chapters 4, 5, and 6. So chapter 4 will be over physical, sensory, and perceptual development in infancy. That will be the focus for that chapter. Chapter 5 will be cognitive development in infancy. And chapter 6 will be social and personal development in infancy. And I'll go into a little bit more detail about those once we start the PowerPoint presentations. So this week, you have a project that's due on Sunday at midnight. So the project is bringing up a perfect baby. So this assignment is a PowerPoint presentation. So this has to be no less than 12 slides long. The presentation should include a slide for each of the 6 letters sent from the parents. And you'll find out more information once you actually click on this link, and it'll give you some more information. The presentation should include a slide for each 6 letters sent to the parents. Additionally, pictures and illustrations should be included, and the letters should indicate a good understanding of infant development and the ability to incorporate knowledge in a practical manner. Of course, so the grading for this assignment will be as follows: 50 points. It's out of 100 points, so 50 points will be your requests and your advice. 25 points will be for your organization of your topics, and creativity will be 25 points as well. So let's go ahead and click on it. Let's see what pops up if we click on this link. Okay. So not much pops up. So, of course, they want you to read the prompt and review the letters. So let me open up the PowerPoint presentation that I want to show you as to what I'm kind of looking for. Okay, so this is a PowerPoint presentation that was completed for just a regular general psych course. The topic was Feeney's gauge, but what I want to focus on mainly is the setup of the slides and what it looks like. So here are the slides that she has. Each slide has the information that is needed for that slide. And also you see here how she has cited in the text where the text citation came from. So this is important. So whenever you're doing your PowerPoint presentations, make sure if you're getting information from wherever, cite it in the text, or you can also cite it down at the bottom here of the PowerPoint slide, just so I know that you are citating all your references. And here again she has it. So this is just a brief overview of what I'm looking for in terms of your PowerPoint slides, and how it has pictures, it has your reference citations from your reference page, and it just goes into detail about every topic that needs to be discussed. And at the end, of course, she has her reference page. This is how it should look as well. So that was just a brief introduction as to what I'm looking for in terms of the PowerPoint presentation. So let's go ahead and go back. Alright, so that is your PowerPoint presentation. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me, and I will get right on those questions for you. So you also have an exam due this week, and that is also due Sunday at midnight. So this exam will cover chapters 1 through 6, and this exam study guide gives you a little reference in terms of what to study for the exam. It gives you key terms. It allows you to test yourself on the material, and it can be very helpful for you in terms of making a good grade on your first exam. And this exam is for 50 multiple choice questions. yeah, over chapters 1 through 6. And lastly, of course, you have your discussion board. In no less than 250 words, you're to discuss some of the principles of attachment theory that will stand out to you and why. So, of course, we'll be talking about that throughout the lecture. So let's go ahead and jump right into the lecture now. Let's see, chapter 6. Let's go to 4. So chapter 4, like I said, this is over physical, sensory, and perceptual development in infancy. And again, this will be a brief overview. I won't go over everything. Like I said, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please reach out to me and I can go dig a little deeper into the material for you. So, of course, in this chapter, we will discuss physical changes, health and wellness, infant mortality, and sensory skills. And, of course, these are our lecture objectives. So, the brain. The brain is a key part of a child's development and also the nervous system. Like it says, rapid development occurs during the first 2 years. That's a common theme that a lot of people discuss in terms of brain development. And you hear stories about how you're supposed to be very sensitive when it comes to a child's brain and not to press on their brain during this time because their brain is developing and they still need time to develop those muscles and bones around their brain. So this is an important part of psychology in terms of development for children. Okay, so here's a structure of the brain. Of course, it shows you all the different areas. You have the cortex at the top, you have the midbrain, you have the cerebellum at the back, the medulla, and the spinal cord. So, this is an interesting topic for discussion. TV for tots. How much is too much? So, statistics have shown that 90% of U.S. babies watch television and others forms of video entertainment every day. Infants are exposed to an average of 5 hours daily of background television. And research has also shown excessive television watching during the first 3 years of life is linked to reduced social interactions as well as ADHD. So that's a very interesting study. And there's multiple studies out there in terms of how television, and not just television, many times we see kids with iPads and things like that, how it impacts their development in terms of how they will be in school later on, whether it's they're not interacting with their classmates or they are overacting with their classmates, they have ADHD. So just an interesting topic to look into more in your book on how TV affects a child's development. Neuroplasticity. This is an interesting theme that in response to childhood brain development, it's the brain's ability to change in response to experience. You either use it or lose it, and changes in psychological functioning. So the child's brain is very, like it says, it has a lot of plasticity. So if something occurs to the child during a certain amount of time, children are very resilient, and they can bounce back instead in comparison to an adult. If something traumatic happens to an adult, it takes a little bit longer time to heal and recover from the injury or the experience or the trauma or whatever it may be in comparison to a child. So this neuroplasticity, speaks to that that component of brain development. Of course, reflexes and adaptive reflexes are reflexes that aid survival. So some of these occur throughout the lifetime. They warn of possible neuronal development problems when weak or absent. So adaptive reflexes speak on reflexes that are learned, or reflexes that are learned in comparison to primitive. Those are ones that are instilled in our brain. And these are reflexes that are controlled by less sophisticated parts of the brain. It should appear at birth and disappear by 6 to 8 months. So when thinking in terms of things that are learned and things that are taught, or not necessarily things that are learned and taught, but things that are ingrained in us as human beings and things that are learned. For instance, if you babies, when they're born, we have to teach them how to be potty trained, but they automatically know how to either poop or pee. It just comes with the territory. When they need to sit down and use the bathroom, that is something that has to be taught. So those are the two differences between primitive and adaptive reflexes. Let's see, what else do I want to talk about? And these slides are talking about crying, sleepiness, and wakefulness. Okay, so let's talk about physical changes and growth in children. So by age 1, there should be at least 10 to 12 inches of growth, and infants should triple body weight. So if they're born, if they're 8 ounces, they should be at least triple the body weight when they're born to their age at 1. So around age 2, toddlers reach half their adult height and proportionally much larger heads than adults. And this can also vary. And of course, growth in motor skills. Let's move on. Here's an interesting topic in terms of health and wellness for child development when it comes to nutrition. And this is a widely debated topic of discussion. So breastfeeding versus bottle feeding. So breastfeeding is, like it says, nutritionally superior, more rapid weight gain and size, early health benefits, only nutrition needed for the first 4 to 6 months of life, and may not be possible for all mothers. So this breastfeeding is often the preferred method of feeding babies in terms of health and wellness, but there's also bottle feeding. Bottle feeding may be a needed supplement for preterm babies. Special needs formulas available, can be high quality, allow more paternal participation. But not just that, some mothers have a difficult time with breastfeeding. There's many variables and factors that contribute with bottle feeding and breastfeeding. But this is just a comparison of the two in terms of nutrition. So solid foods, and so for this, early introduction can interfere with nutrition. So not feeding the baby solid foods prior to the age that they should be starting, which should be 4 to 6 months of age. So you shouldn't be giving a 1-month-old solid foods. Also, do not help babies to sleep through the night. That's an interesting component because a lot of times when you think of infant feeding and we put cereal and all these things in our baby's bottles to help them sleep through the night. But studies have shown that it does not help either way. So baby is ready for solid foods when he or she can hold their head steady and upright in upright position, sit with support, and show interest in what you are eating. So these are indicators as to when the baby is ready to start eating solid foods. Here's just a diagram on malnutrition, healthcare, and immunizations. Of course, these are very important in terms of vaccinations to prevent diseases, help with overall health, and assessing for motor skills and any delays that may be present. Of course, like I said, these are important in terms of the healthcare for your babies. So illnesses. Illnesses are very common with babies, specifically respiratory illnesses. So needing breathing treatment and things like that with their nose and breathing and things like that. It's also higher in children participating in child care programs. So this is commonly known that once the child reaches age of 3 months, That's typically when the mother and father return back to work, so they're having to be placed into daycare and things like that, and that's where all the germs and lots of infections can occur. So if it is possible, it would be best for the child to not enter daycare at 3 months. It should be a little bit longer so their respiratory system and their immune system is up a little bit higher. And also chronic infections are common within the first 2 years of life. Infant mortality, so death within the first year of life. 7 babies per 1,000 babies in the U.S. Die within the first year of life. And this can be attributed to a lot of factors. SIDS being the highest one, which is sudden infant death syndrome. Yeah, there's a lot of research and studies on why this happens so commonly, but it does affect a lot of babies and mothers in the first years of life. Death also related to prenatal care varies widely among U.S. ethnic groups. So this can happen in any ethnic group that you may be in. And here's a chart on the group differences in infant mortality. African Americans are the highest in infant mortality. Hawaiians, Native Americans, Puerto Ricans, white, Mexican, Japanese, Cuban, Vietnamese, and Chinese American. And here's just some guidelines as to how to support parents that have lost an infant. And I was just talking about this. Incidence of SIDS is a leading cause of death of infants in the U.S. 1 to 12 months a year old. And the links are apnea, sleeping on stomach, and maternal smoking. And these are the links towards which you can't be, they're not exactly sure as to why, but these are some of the things that they're looking at in terms of sudden infant death syndrome. Let's see, let's skip over this. So sounds. This is interesting, of course, whenever you're, when a baby is learning to speak and to figure out different sounds. At 1 month old, a baby should be able to understand the difference between pa and ba. At 3 months old, the baby should respond to male, female, and children's voices similarly. At 6 months old, they should be able to determine between 2 syllable words, and at 6 months old, they should be able to use sound contrast in any language. So that's really interesting. Alright, so let's move on to chapter 5. That's a really interesting topic in terms of early development in children. So chapter 5 is over cognitive development in infancy. And of course, this chapter will discuss cognitive changes, learning, categorizing and remembering, beginning of language, and measuring intelligence in infancy. So these are the learning objectives. Let's go ahead and click on. There we go. Okay, so Piaget. In terms of sensory motor stages, there's, of course, basic reflexes, primary circular reaction, secondary circular reaction, coordination of secondary schemas, tertiary circular reaction, and transition to symbolic thought. These are the key components that Piaget describes in sensorial motor stages. Excuse me. And also here's a diagram that explains deeper into what that is. So moving on, there isn't much I want to talk about in terms of that. I'm going to keep moving on because all this information you guys can. So let's talk about conditioning and modeling. So learning, permanent change in behavior that results in experience. We talked about classical conditioning and operant conditioning in the previous lecture. So you guys should know what that is. Schematic learning, and this is an organization of experiences into expectancies or known combination of schemas. At 7 months of age, infants actively use categories but not levels to process information. At 2 years of age, hierarchical or superordinate categories appear. So this speaks to specifically for schematic learning. Like it says, your experiences will shape your future expectancies of events. For instance, if a baby or an infant is told not to touch the stove because it's hot, 9 times out of 10, they will still touch the stove because they haven't experienced the outcome of what actually touching the stove shows. So once the baby has touched the hot stove and they burn themselves, that's how they know, okay, I don't need to touch that because it's hot, it will burn me. So that speaks to the learning of the different expectancies or experiences they may encounter. So let's move on. Yeah, let's move on to trying to figure out what exactly I want to talk about. Okay, so let's talk about early milestones of language development. So at birth to 1 month, crying is the predominant sound. So this is a sound that's most oftenly heard from babies from birth to 1 month old. 1 to 2 months, laughing and cooling sounds are the predominant early milestones for language development. 6 to 7 is babbling, so repetitive vowel and consonant combinations. And 9 to 10 months, of course, hand gestures, vocalization combinations. So receptive language, and this is the ability to understand words. At 8 months of age, babies should begin to store words in memory. At 9 to 10 months of age, babies typically understand 20 to 30 words. And at 13 months of age, babies typically understand 100 words. So just thinking in terms of if you have any babies or if in the future you want babies, just thinking of in terms of what their memory and the capacity of receptive language they are able to understand at these specific ages. Expressive language, which is the ability to produce words, and this occurs between 12 to 13 months of age, and that's when they typically start saying their first words. And words are, of course, learned slowly within certain specific experiences, situations, and of course cues. So let's see. And continuation of course, when babies, we talked about babies being able to speak, say their first words at 12 to 13 months, and short, simple sentences appear at from 18 to 24 months. And their threshold vocabulary reaches around 120 words. So that's not much in comparison to at 12 to 13 months, they can understand 100 words, and from 18 to 24, it's 200 words. So it's not that much of a jump, but they are completing sentences, short, simple sentences. So that's also interesting. And here's a milestone marker for development in the first 2 years, so you guys can review that more. That's some great information. Let's see. I believe that's all I want to talk about. Yep, that is. So let's go ahead and move on to chapter 6. And this is the final chapter that I review. Like I said, I really wanted to keep this video short and sweet, but it is running a little bit longer than I would have liked. But let's get started. Chapter 6 will discuss social and personality development in infancy. So, of course, we'll discuss theories of social and personality development, effects of non-parental care, attachment, personality, temperament, and self-concept. And here's Freud again. We talked about Freud last slide, and his psychosexual stages that are related to development and growth. And he said that the infant's attempts to achieve satisfaction. So we talked about the oral stage and the mother-child symbolic relationship, nursing, and fixation. Erikson, on the other hand, we spoke about him as well in the last slide, and how his psychosocial stages differ from Freud's, but these stages attend to the needs of the infant in terms of their social development. So, of course, he talked about trust versus mistrust, and the relationship goes beyond just the feeding and the fixation and things like that. I need to scoop this up a little bit more so we can see. There we go. All right. Skim through here and see exactly what I'm going to talk about. So a mother's bond with her infant. Of course, having this bond is very important for not just feeding and helping the baby, but also for the development of the child. Of course, mothers do primarily more of the caregiving than the fathers do. So after the first few weeks, mothers tend to talk and smile to the babies more, and this not only helps with the baby's personality, but it helps with the development too as well. There's a study done on I forgot the name of the book. It's called the Still Face Experiment, and it was a study done with a mother and an infant, and the mother was prompted to interact and laugh and play with the baby, and then the next minute she was required to stand still while the baby was trying to interact with her, to see what type of reaction the baby would have. And you can see in the video, once the mom and the baby were interacting and having fun and playful, the baby was really enjoying it. But as soon as the mother had the still face and she was acting like none of the baby's cues were getting her excited, the baby started trying more and more and more to get her attention, to make her smile, to make her laugh. So that was just an interesting video and study that was completed in terms of how baby's development and their personality is stemmed. So Still Face Baby Experiment, if you want to look that up, that's something that you can look at. And it also speaks to attachment with the infant and how attached the baby is with their mom. Let's see. When mothers observe or interact with their infants, their bodies release oxytocin, a hormone that is correlated with empathy and physical relaxation. So let's move on. So a father's bond with his infant is different than the mother. Fathers have the same repertoire as mothers do. However, after the first few weeks, fathers begin to spend more time with the baby. So within the first 2 weeks, of course, the baby is more with the mom, but then the fathers slowly become more active with the baby. Watching and interacting with the baby stimulates vasopressin in fathers, a hormone that is linked to arousal, aggression, and physical activity. That's interesting. Culture may impact the interpretation of study results and the benefits of the father's involvement. So I haven't done much research on the father's reaction and attachment with the child, but I think it's definitely interesting and more, you can dig a little bit deeper about how a baby interaction and attachment with the father in comparison with the mother, how that impacts their development. So characteristics of attachment: safe haven, secure base, proximity, maintenance, separation, and distress. So along with the same video that I was talking about for YouTube with the still face baby, there's also an attachment video in terms of an infant's attachment to their parents. So it's basically the 4 sets of different parents. The mom leaves the baby in the room alone, and how the baby reacts upon the mom leaving is what level of attachment the baby has. So we'll look at, of course, attachment. And this talks about when these attachment styles are established. Non-focus orienting and signaling, that's 0 to 3 months. So that would occur with the still face baby. Focused on one or more figures, 3 to 6 months. Secure base behavior, 6 to 24 months. And internal model. So this speaks to what I was just talking about, how the moms left the baby in the room. Stranger anxiety, separation anxiety, and social referencing. So there's 4 different attachment styles. There's a secure attachment, insecure avoidant attachment, insecure ambivalent attachment, and insecure disorganized attachment. So a secure attachment, this would look like the children between the ages 12 to 18 months, of course, and here's a list of scenarios. So the scenario with the mother, this would look like, I'm trying to think of a great example as to, for secure attachment, the child, say for instance, in the video, the mom leaves the child in the room. Upon the mom leaving, the child has, of course, some response. Either they're crying or upset, but after a little bit, they regain their composure, and they go off and play with their friends. They go off and do other things, knowing that their mom will return. So babies that have a secure attachment, they have a strong sense of security knowing that their mom will return. They may be upset that they left, but at the same time they know that their mom will return. Now, babies with an insecure avoidant attachment, these babies show, little to no reaction, either when the mom is leaving them or returning. So this is a very interesting component. Just imagine, you're leaving your child and the baby not crying or being upset, or even when you're returning, showing no reaction to you. So this is one of the styles as well. Next would be insecure ambivalent attachment. This one, insecure ambivalent, the child is very distressed once the mom or dad leaves them in the room. And they're very weary to strangers, even when the caregiver is present. But upon returning, say that, for instance, if the mom comes to pick the baby up, the baby may be very angry, dismissive, showing that I'm really mad that you left me. So don't do that again. So this is another attachment style. And finally, the last one is insecure disorganized attachment. And this style is also interesting in terms of how the baby interacts with the child. Attachment style is sometimes seen in, of course, abuse or maltreatment of the child. So the child is, frightened, disoriented, and these behaviors even persist when the parent is around or not around. So the child may freeze up, cry, all types of behaviors when the parent is present and when the parent is not present. So yeah, these are the attachment styles, and these are of course really interesting. I didn't even go over the situations, but these styles occur within babies in different ways, and it's not to say if a child has insecure, disorganized attachment that they are being abused or neglected or anything like that, but this is just gives you an idea of what the behaviors look like. Okay, so let's move on. this talks more about attachment, and you guys can read over that. So origins and stability of temperament. For instance, heredity. It's said that identical twins are more alike in temperament than fraternal twins are. So if you have two identical twins, their personality and their temperament should be the same. In comparison to fraternal twins, you may have complete polar opposites. One may be super outgoing, and the other one may be really reserved. And of course, long-term stability. In terms of origins of stability and temperament, this is seen across long periods of time. Let's see. A lot of this stuff you guys can review. I need to move this down again so we can see. There we go. Yeah, like I said, a lot of the stuff that you guys will review once you read over each chapter. And I believe that is all I want to discuss for this week's lecture. So, and again, like I said, you have an assignment due this week in terms of a project, and you also have an exam. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to reach out to me. But as for right now, this is it. And have a great week. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers, and I will talk to you soon.